Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca and I am a PhD student at Middle Tennessee State University, which is near Nashville, and I wanted to create a video series on my experience as a PhD student, what I do for my studies, different hacks that I've discovered along my journey, and just what it's like trying to get a doctorate. So a little bit about what I'm studying. So I'm about to start my second year in my program. I'm getting a doctorate in English, and my two main areas of focus are Victorian literature and children's literature. So Victorian literature is the time period that Queen Victoria was alive in England. So that's 1837 to 1901. And so the main thing that I'm looking at within Victorian literature is Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was an Irish writer that lived primarily in London during his adult life. And he's a fascinating character. I would definitely recommend learning more about him. He mostly wrote plays. If you look him up on Google, it'll say he's an Irish poet, which is kind of interesting because he wrote poetry at the beginning, but that's not how he made his fame. I won't get it too much into Oscar Wilde. I can definitely do more videos on different aspects of his life and his career because I find it so fascinating. I will probably do my dissertation on Oscar Wilde. I haven't quite decided what aspect of his life or his works that I want to talk about. I need to figure that out pretty soon, but I can definitely do more videos on Oscar Wilde because he's a great guy, and he is just very funny, and I love talking about him. So I won't delve too much into that because I could talk for a very long time on Oscar Wilde. And then my other area of interest is children's literature. So I have a master's degree in library and information science with an emphasis in youth services. And I worked in the children's department of a public library during the pandemic. And then I decided to switch careers. I call it my quarter life crisis. I've always been interested in children's literature. It's what I grew up reading. I never stopped reading it, even as an adult. So I naturally have just done it for my education, and it's been great. So I know a lot about children's literature, specific areas of it, mostly modern children's literature. I'm not as particularly interested in the older side of children's literature, but I definitely have read some things that are from that time period. And so my main interest in children's literature is within adoption studies, so looking at how different adoption experiences are represented in children's literature, which, spoiler alert, it's not actually a lot, which kind of makes my research difficult because there's not already a lot of existing scholarship on adoption within children's literature. There are some within psychology, sociology, feminist studies. I've done some work on birth mothers with a feminist lens. But within children's literature, it's not as common to see scholarship on children's literature unless it's transnational adoption, which is where Americans or other white people, I would assume, adopt people of a different culture. So think, going to China or going to Africa and adopting a child. There is a lot in that regard, just the ethics of it, the, cultural difference. So there is some of that within the adoption studies, but just because that is the focus, I try not to focus on that, which makes my life more difficult. So I don't think I will be writing my dissertation on adoption. I considered it, but every children's literature class I take, I do write on adoption. So eventually maybe I would like to, compile all those papers that I've written into a book about adoption within children's literature, because I think it's something that we definitely need to talk about, and it's not being discussed as heavily as I would like. So yeah, that's a little introduction about me. But as this, video series goes along, if you have any specific questions, feel free to comment on them, or any video ideas that you'd like to see. I have some ideas for like book hauls, a day in my life as a PhD student. Like I said, different hacks that I've discovered during my schooling so far. But I'm really excited to visually chronicle my journey as a PhD student. I don't have a very good memory, and I'm really bad at taking pictures of things that go on in my life. So I feel like making these videos will be a good way for me to look back on my time as a PhD student, the stressors, the highs and lows and joys and triumphs that I experienced during my time here, and give you all just an idea of what it's like being a PhD student, whether you are someone who is thinking about going into a PhD, whether that be in English or another subject, or you just like watching lifestyle vlogs, or you're just a friend in real life. Whatever brings you to this channel, I'm glad that you're here. Let me know what kind of videos that you want to see, and I can definitely try to make those. And I hope we just have a good journey together. Bye!